Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. My name is Craig Rainey. They call me the Renaissance Man. Welcome to my podcast. Let's see if we get started. The writing business is anything but a business. And the reason I say that is like the band business or the film business or anything else, it's art first. And the thing about writing is, for me, and let me say, for me, the thing about writing is that it's an outlet for me. And it's not just a creative outlet. It's an outlet for energy. It's something that keeps me level, and I would say on a lot of levels maybe keeps me sane. I'm a very passionate person. I find that I tend to be opinionated about things, but writing is one of those outlets where the written word is just so beautiful that what you can say and how you can express yourself. Today I wanted to talk about a couple of my books, and the reason I want to talk about it is not to schlep a book or to get you all to buy one. It's not that. I think what we need to talk about is what got me into the writing aspect of things. And I think to be a writer, you have to be a reader first. And I am an avid reader. I've been a reader since I was a kid. I was asked in an interview recently, and I said, "Well, what was your inspiration? What got you into writing novels?" And later on, my latest book is a nonfiction. It's a sales training book. And for those of you who know me, you know that my day job is primarily sales. I've been selling forever, so I felt like that. Sales is kind of going away at its core, and I think that people are so scared they're going to upset somebody that nobody tries to actually use any sales tools. So anyway, I wrote the book for that, but that's for another episode. The fiction aspect of it, when somebody talks about my inspiration, that goes back to when I was a kid, and my inspiration was the Golden Stallion series. It was a YA. It was a young adult series, and I think there were 6 novels in it, written by Rutherford G. Montgomery in the 50s, and I picked it up, and talking about it was a storyline that really fired my imagination, and I was a kid, so horses appealed to me, and the whole cowboy thing, and I grew up in San Angelo and all over the world after that, but in San Angelo, that is a cowboy town, cowboy and oil, and that's how I was exposed to a Western way of life early. But anyway, so that really appealed to me. And interestingly, recently I started collecting all the hardcover books in the series, and I own them all now, and I've reread them, and I'm a little embarrassed to say that they still interest me. Well, it's not, maybe not embarrassed, but it's I still feel the same way about the books now at my age as I felt when I was 12, 13 years old when I first read them. But what I found out from reading those books is that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to write. I wanted to express myself with the written word like Rutherford G. Montgomery did with his stories. So, I go back to last episode, I talked about this author that, he had self-published on Amazon. And I'm not going to say he was my inspiration because that's not the right word. I think what he did is he opened my eyes to how accessible the writing business was. And this is where the business part comes in. I realized, if I can produce a marketable product, there's a possibility I can actually be read. With my filmmaking, music, and authoring, I've never done it for money. Yeah, I think that money would be a very pleasant side effect of the art and the work I put into it, but that's not my goal. If that were my goal, I'd be I'd be very disappointed and very frustrated because in the film business, it's a fact that only 10% of all actors in the film business make over $2,500 per year. That's $2,500 per year. That's around $200 a month. And that's the top 10%. The other 90% make less than that. In my heyday, I was in the top 10%, barely. Books are the same way. I jokingly mentioned Amazon advertising. I've put thousands into Amazon advertising, and I've recouped in actual profit dollars from that, maybe half, half of what I put into it. So you're going to have a day job if you're if you're going to do any kind of arts, and if you're going to participate in that. But as far as writing, the one thing that this author did is he showed me that it was accessible. So in 2018, I wrote my first book, and it was a Western based upon a screenplay that I had written earlier, and it's entitled Massacre at Agua Caliente, a Western Tragedy. And the reason I wrote the book, was because in the film business, I'd worked with people like Brett Mauser, who owns and runs I'm sorry, Ponderous Productions. They now call it Insane Entertainment or something like that. And then, but anyway, he was doing. I think I did 13 or 14 films with him, and during those 13 or 14 films, I always did character work. As I mentioned, I was always the heavy or a cop. But he did a 10-movie series, 10 full feature films in 1 year, called the Innocent Saga, and you should check it out. It's he's repurposed it as a series, an internet series, and each episode is, I think it's an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it may be, 45 minutes or an hour. But I really like the repackaging of it. I think it really serves it, especially his style of writing, the characters, this kind of thing. But anyway, I played the main bad guy in there, a character by the name of Colin Donovan, and I feel very fortunate that he picked me for that role, because it was a big role and very important to the Ponderous universe. But anyway, some of the actors and actresses that we used in this, there's a term that we call they diva out, and typically the leads on these aren't the Ponderous people, the people that are with Ponderous day in and day out that work, and Ponderous Productions. And there's a family group that I'm still not a part of. I'm not sure which generation they would even consider me, maybe 3 or 4, but I'm not in the inner sanctum on this deal. But these other actors and actresses that came on to the film, they had something about them. They said, they're going to be the perfect lead on this. So he gave them the leading role, and so essentially he gave them a movie. Well, invariably, what happened is these folks, at first they were so grateful. Oh yeah, I've had many times. Oh, Greg Reddy, I'm so happy to be working with you, and I'm so glad that Brett, cast me for this, and I'm so excited because I haven't done any movies before, and this is a great opportunity, and I hope I do well. And I was like, yeah, well, just work at it, you'll do it. By the end of the filming, and a couple months later, these folks were asking for the green M&Ms. I hope you get the reference, but it's seriously okay. You went from wow, wide-eyed and eager and everything else to all of a sudden, well, look, I'm the star, and I'm going to need that trailer, and I'm going to need those green M&Ms. I'm also going to need you to deliver Diet Cokes to me personally, and I'm going to adjust the script how I want to. I mean, it just became a problem. So Brett and I were talking one day, and we were discussing that aspect of the actors and actresses that he's dealt with. And I said, well, Brett, why haven't you given me a movie? Why haven't you made me the main character in some movie? Make me the protagonist. I'm always the bad guy. I always do character work. I've got the chops, and I want y'all to know that what I hang my hat on in the acting business is not necessarily my skill, because I think I'm okay. But when I show up, I'm off book before anybody else. And with that in the industry, that means that I'm no longer reading my script. I've got the lines memorized. Thank you, John Lanch, for helping me to bottom line scenes and learn that. But so I'm off book. My continuity is good. There are different setups in the scenes, and I'm going to get back to the books. There's a point to what I'm saying. I'm telling you this to tell you something else. But in continuity, if you in one take and one setup, let's say that in the middle of it, I'm talking, I reach up and I scratch my ear with my right hand. Well, in every setup, I better be sure to do that in every setup because the continuity has to be good. And if you watch movies closely, you'll see that even in the big budget movies, they'll miss this a lot of times. It's when a script supervisor is is key in this thing. But anyway, he told me this. He said, "Well, Craig, the problem that I have is in the talent pool that's available to me. I really don't have. I really don't have anybody that would be considered a threat to you as an antagonist. If you're the protagonist in the movie, I couldn't find anybody that any audience member would ever say, "Oh, well, a Craig Rainey character should be scared of this person." So he said, "Now, if I had a script where the main bad guy was the lead character, well, shoot, I'd cast you in a heartbeat on it." That sat with me. I went, because I'm a firm believer in life that if somebody can give me the parameters by which I can succeed or do something, well, I'll make it my mission for that to make that happen. And anyway, so I that's set in the back of my mind. Let me put it that way. So later on, I did a couple films with Mutt Productions, and Aaron Lee Lopez. He was a director on a movie that we did where I was the main bad guy. Of course, it's called The Return of Johnny V, and it's got distribution. It's a good film, and I played the mayor, the main bad guy in it. And anyway, it did well, but the distributor, they said, "Man, you did such a good job, and we like the quality of the film, and we like how it was done. Uh, Maybe you could, make us another one and put another one in the can." And they said, "Well, what we're looking for, marketing-wise, we're looking for one of three genres, which are very popular. The first is a, a movie with animals in it, whether it's a dog or something like that, a pet movie. The second one is sci-fi, and science fiction is really selling right now. And the third one is westerns, historical fiction." And anyway, so Mario, the producer, he told me about it. He goes, "So what do you think about that? You know of any of these kind of scripts? Because I mean, I know a lot of people in the industry." And I said, "Well, Mario, I don't know of anything like that." I said, "Pet movies, I don't know if that's my thing. I worked with Nations Entertainment Group, and we did one called Angel Dog, and I played a cop in that, of course. And that one did pretty well. I think I saw that one on a movie channel or Cinemax or somewhere." And I said, "Sci-fi is generally pretty expensive, and I know you guys, you work on pretty limited budgets." Pardon me. So I'm not sure that would be the way to go. I said, "Westerns. Now I like westerns." And I had done one western with Ponderous Productions. It was originally entitled Bass Reeves. I played the main villain. Bass Reeves, historically, it's based on a true character. Bass Reeves was the first federal marshal, the first black federal marshal, and this was out of Arkansas. And anyway, so I played Bob Dozier in that one, and Bob Dozier is also an actual historical character, but kind of a smaller role. But Brett wrote it where Bob Dozier became the antithesis to this federal marshal. And anyway, so but I mentioned to Mario, I said, "Yeah, I played, and I like that western because I mean I cowboyed professionally as a youth and in my 20s. So I mean I could ride rope. I've ridden bucking broncos. I'm not a PRCA guy, but I've done some amateur rodeoing. And so I said, I'm interested in that." He says, "Well, do you have any ideas?" And a germ of an idea hit me then. I remembered my conversation with Brett Mauser, and I said, "I've got an idea." And he goes, "Well, what is this?" I said, "Well, I don't want to give it away. Can you give me a little time? I'm going to put together a little outline, maybe just a summary, and see what you think." He goes, "Okay." So 30 days later, I came back with a treatment, and essentially a treatment in Hollywood is an outline with a storyline built in. It's just a quick. It's just called a summary. It's a quick summary of what the movie's going to be about. And I had character names, and I had some action, and the plot where I thought it was going to go, and so forth. Anyway, so I brought it to him, and we met at my favorite